Hey, this is Stereo Police. It's been a little while since my last video. Been kind of busy with, with what you're looking at right here. Just had a thunderstorm come through. Looking at 5 acres of grass. And between that and the career, pesky career thing, I haven't had much time. See if I can do this left-handed. I haven't had much time to make videos, and unfortunately to reply to some of the replies that I've been getting, the comments that I've been getting. I try to, but I don't always. I just got around to doing a number of them tonight. My apologies if I missed yours. I try my best. But anyway, I was out and about this weekend doing some shopping, and I came across some vintage 80s, I think 80s, speakers that I just couldn't resist. And that's what I'll be making a video about tonight. That means I can get started. Did that left-handed too. I just suffered through this cutting today before the rain hit. Oh man. So there's Jasper. He's scared of the thunder. Oh, I've been getting some fine listening. I'm still loving this system to death. My Yamaha, the Klipsch, I mean, just fantastic. Gets better all the time, really. Been spinning some records. Got some of my old records out. Got my phono. I'm not using the built-in Yamaha phono preamp. I'm using the project tube preamp for the phono preamp. Sounds great. Had a chance to clean up a little bit. The last video I made, I had crap all over the floor. I just have a little bit of crap now. So here they are. I was out and about, went to a small junk store, well, actually a big junk store, where I live, nearby where I live, and I found these ADS speakers. And I have yet to figure out how to pull the grills up. There's little tabs here. I want to be very careful. I'm going to do everything on video here. I just figured, I'm just going to make a video so you can see everything from start to finish. Not that there's anything to see, but I remember ADS being an excellent speaker brand. Super high quality. They made generally acoustic suspension type speakers, is similar to acoustic research. In other words, sealed enclosures. And these look to be in pretty good condition for something that was built in the early, I'm guessing early 80s. And that's one of the reasons for the video, is if anybody knows anything about these speakers, I'd appreciate maybe shooting me a reply. They are the L570/2s. High fidelity loudspeaker system, 8 ohms, 100 watts, precision made in the US by Analog and Digital Systems Inc. I never knew that that's what ADS standed for. Analog and Digital Systems Inc. Wilmington, Massachusetts. They even give a zip code there. Okay. So I've not done a thing with them. You can see the only real dirt or dust on these things are at or on or near the binding posts. I don't know what that is. And the cabinets are in fairly good shape. It's a walnut veneer, I believe. Some scratches on the top of this one. Top of this one's in better shape. And I remember ADS. I remember I was just a young kid at the time, in the early 80s, probably early teens, and going into, I was into audio big time back then, and it was kind of the end of the golden age of audio, I believe. But I remember going into high-end shops, and you're a kid, and they just kind of look at you and they want you to leave, and they don't want you to ask questions. They don't take you seriously because they know you can't buy anything. But I remember going in there and seeing ADS speakers. There was one company in particular. I grew up around the Washington, D.C. area in the suburbs, and there was one company, I'm not going to remember the name of them, but they carried Klipsch and ADS and Macintosh. I loved seeing those Macintosh amps, the big VU meters, and they had a whole host of ADS lined up on the wall, and I remember hearing them being demoed to somebody else, and thinking they just sounded so sweet and so fantastic, and I just loved them, and that just stuck in my memory. But I've never owned a pair myself, and I've never heard a pair of ADSs since then. And these are, I guess you'd consider them bookshelf speakers. Let's see if I have a ruler down here, but try to do this with one hand. Hold on. Opening up a tape measure. These things are roughly 19 inches. 19 inches in height by 11 inches in width. By something on the order of 10 deep. Looks pretty close to the golden ratio for speakers. I have to run those numbers, but there's a golden ratio that's particularly helpful in sealed enclosures. And that's the ratio of width to height to depth. And they call it the golden ratio, at least they used to. I haven't studied speaker design in years, but that was a ratio that yielded the best sounding speaker for several reasons. But that was the geometry. They appear to be that. But anyway, I know that these are two-way. I could kind of peek in a little bit with a flashlight and see there's a tweeter and a woofer, but let's figure out how to take these apart. And if anyone knows what I'm interested in, if anyone has any information about these or knows of a link to specs, a spec sheet or a brochure, I'd appreciate it. I'd like to know a little more about them, particularly when they were made. They look 80-ish. I'm almost certain they were made in the 80s. But I'd love to know what their specs are, especially their low frequency extension. Now, I was interested in them not only for nostalgia, but first of all, I got them for a steal. I'll just say they were virtually free. You put it that way, in terms of what I paid for these. It was ridiculous, but I say this, I don't know if they work yet, but they're in such good shape. When I peeked in, everything looked fine. Anyway, that's a long story short, but they sounded so good, ADS, and sealed enclosures, acoustic suspension. If you hear a noise, that's my feet touching my rubber mat here, my insulated mat. Two things, and without getting into detail, but mini monitors or bookshelf speakers have certain attributes to them that I believe large floor standards can't quite achieve in terms of maybe imaging and sound staging, and there are reasons for that, design reasons, or actually physics related reasons, and also acoustic suspension yields by far the most accurate bass reproduction you can ever get out of a speaker in terms of accuracy when the cue is right, when they're tuned right, when the enclosure, when everything comes together. It's by far more accurate than any vented enclosure, whether it's ported or whether it's horn loaded or whether it's transmission line. Although if a transmission line is done right, then nothing ever comes out of the transmission line. That's the whole point behind it, but that's a different story. So coupled with the fact that these are mini monitors, let's call them, and the fact that they're acoustic suspension, and the fact that this was a highly regarded and excellent speaker company at their time, I was interested in bringing them home. Like, I need more crap laying around, right? But I said, what the hell? So that's why I purchased them. I'm looking forward to hooking them up and hearing them. If you see this video, then they're going to work. I tell you what, if I hook them up and they're both blown, this video is pointless and useless. I think, maybe, I don't know. So I'm going to put the camera down and we're going to try. There's a little tab. There's a little tab right there. And before I purchased them, the guy didn't want me to remove the grills for fear that, I don't know. But and I think if things go well, this grill is solidly pressed in there, and if things go right, that's what that tab is for. It should come off, and just trying it with my left hand, I can't budge the damn thing. So I'm going to put the speaker on its back and give it a shot. Okay, so I had to give it a real tug right there, and you can see I got that portion up. And oh man, that's tight. I'm trying to do it with one hand here. Okay, the little tab fell off. I'm going to need to put the camera down temporarily and use both hands to try to get this grill off without bending anything. And it came off. Look at that. Alright, so here's the back of the grill. It looks like it has some kind of dust cloth on it, and then yes, it's dusty. These things probably haven't been opened. It's like a time capsule, man. These things probably haven't been opened for decades. That little protrusion there is where the ADS logo is. And the tab came off, and there's another ADS logo in there. The tab just slides on. That's good. And here they are. Look at this. Pretty clean. There's a little bit of dust on the woofer. Oh, and thank goodness, if you're religious, thank God that the surrounds are rubber and not foam. And when I peeked it in with a flashlight, I could tell the surrounds weren't rotted. I wouldn't have purchased if they were rotted, but the surrounds are a rubber. And they are original. Boy, these things are in fine shape for something from the 80s, and they must have kept the dust covers on, because this is that, and I don't know the material, but back in the day they would take fabric dome tweeters and coat them with this sticky black tarry gunk to stiffen them up. And I once heard the name of the material, and it eludes me now, but if you leave these uncovered, dust sticks to that stuff, and you get a super dusty tweeter, and you can't do a damn thing about it. So you don't want to touch it. This is one of those old tweeters. Back in the day, they made them with the connection wires came in from the sides, and it went right through the dome down to the voice coil. Cool. Now, these woofers are paper. They're pressed paper, I can tell. Give it a little. Let me give it a little push from either side, very gently. And there's no rubbing of the voice coil. Now watch how slowly it pops up. See, they're sealed. It's a sealed enclosure. There's no rubbing of the voice coil. That's a good sign. When voice coils get blown, the lamination comes off, and sometimes the wires will open, and they will start rubbing the magnet, the gap. So far so good. I like it. Let's do the same for the other one. I'll set this aside, and hopefully there's no surprises in this one. No, I'm just going to talk through this instead of hitting. Whoa! Ow! These covers are tight. Oh, same. Ooh, I don't know what that is. No, that's fine. Same thing. Okay, here's the other one. And I said ooh-ee because I looked down right in that crevice there. It looked like rust. I don't know what that is. It's kind of an orangish color. Maybe it is a little oxidation, a little rust, but I can tell from the Allen head screws that I don't think anyone's ever removed the cones here. That's a good thing. And once again, a little bit of dust on the rubber surrounds, but let's do the same little push here. Yep, no rubbing of the voice coil. That's a good sign. I'm doing something that generally I wouldn't recommend or ordinarily do. It's not a good idea to push cones in like this as I continue to do it. You don't ever want to force the cone cockeyed and have a piece of the voice coil rub the magnet, because you could rub the lamination off. Its voice coil wire has a lamination on it. That lamination is an insulator, and you don't want to rub that stuff off. But if you're going to do it, push down on both sides. Don't go one side and push in, because then you can kind of get the thing cockeyed. But okay, very good. So far so good. This tweeter's, there's, you can see some of the dust that sticks to that tarry gunk, and you don't even want to try to get it off. You don't want to touch that tweeter. It's a fabric dome. I can see the fabric below it, and then that gunk, whatever it is. If someone knows the name of that stuff, pop me a comment maybe, because I'm, yeah. Anyway, so they're in good shape, and I am excited to hook them up, to give them a listen. I'm just going to hook them right up to the Yamaha, but before I do that, one of the things you want to do is do a test with an ohm meter, which I'm getting it out right now as I speak. And these just have single binding posts. They're not meant to be bi-wired. And I've got my ohm meter. I'm turning it on ohms. That's a continuity tester. I'm going to turn that off. And let's stick the probes in there, and let's see if we get something resembling 4.8, whatever it is. Okay, that got the ohm meter probes in there, and you can see we have 4.25 ohms, and that's going to tell me that the woofer is fine. It might not tell me anything about the tweeter, because the crossover network is likely going to have a capacitor in the signal path, and a capacitor blocks DC, and that's how an ohm meter works, is it provides a tiny little amount of DC. But I'm interested more in the woofers anyway. I'm doing the same now to the other one. And we have 4.3, 4.28. That's pretty damn close to the other one. Wow, that's pretty consistent. Amazing. So we don't have blown woofers. Or I should say we don't have woofers that are open circuited, or there's no short circuits in there. So it's pretty safe to go ahead, and I'm going to clean these terminals up a little bit and hook them up to the Yamaha out there. Maybe even set them on top of the klipsch, put some cloths down or something, and give them a listen. And I'll go ahead and I might try that right now, see if I have the time for that. I'm expecting some guests tonight, and got to do that before they come over. So it's going to take me a little bit of time to clean these up. I might dust the front covers a little bit and take a vacuum to the dust in here, but it's really cool. Like I say, it's kind of a time capsule. It's really cool to open these up and see something that was manufactured, made, and used in the early 80s. And especially something these things are built like a tank, believe me. These things are These things are heavy as hell. They're rock solid. And I'm really happy with them. I'm happy with their looks. Let me turn them around. I like how they look. Alright, here they are. I like how they look. I just remember that classic ADS. It's styling. I like the fact that they're sealed enclosures, acoustic suspension, that they're mini monitors or they're bookshelf speakers, and I just can't wait to hear them. I hope I'm not disappointed. These things are really cool. And you know, part of my fascination with audio, well, not fast, I don't even, I hate to always say audio. I'm not a true audiophile. I don't sit there and listen and nitpick, and I don't know all the buzzwords and all that, as I mentioned in other videos, but I love the equipment. I love the looks of things. I love the things that are nostalgic, older, but still relevant and good. You know, I like companies that have a history to them. And I just think it's really cool to sit down and, you know, even with all of my modern equipment and streaming and all that stuff, but to be listening to an amp or a pair of speakers that was, you know, that are so old but yet sound good. It's just kind of neat. I can't describe it, you know, maybe, I don't know. And I almost, in some respects, much rather, you know, rotate gear the way I do, and, you know, get some cool stuff and clean them up, maybe fix them a little bit here and there, listen to them, get rid of them, do it again. That's what I've been doing for decades. I enjoy that a lot more than if someone granted me $50,000, let's say, some ridiculous amount, and said, go out and buy your ultimate system and be done with it. And it would be kind of somber, you know. If I just go out and find some, you know, get some great stuff, in the process of, you know, hunting for it would be great and all that. But once you get it and you're sitting there, okay. Oh, by the way, with the $50,000, you can never buy any other equipment. Get it over with, right? I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. Part of the fun of this hobby is just, you know, doing what I'm doing right here. Although I must say, regarding my current system, the Yamaha AS1100 and the Eclipse Forte 3s, that ain't going anywhere anytime soon. I've never been closer to, you know, as I mentioned before, the old audio nirvana than I am with that system. And I've heard some good stuff. Those boys in the local high-end shops love it when I walk in, but I'll tell you what, I've heard some expensive and some good stuff, but I'm as thrilled with that system as I've ever been, and I'm not wanting any more. So this is just sort of having these little guys out there, and if they sound good, I'll occasionally listen to them, and, you know, maybe they have a different trait or a different characteristic that'll be fun to listen to for a while, or here and there, and, you know, rotating things, that's fine, but I'm keeping that my current system, damn sure, until something comes along that tops it, but I seriously doubt that. I love those horns. I love that Yamaha. Anyway, I got off on a tangent. What do they say? I digress. I hate that saying. Anyway, looking forward to getting these things hooked up, and that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm just going to use some regular... There's a damn dog. See that? That's his drool. Whenever there's thunder, he leaks all over the place. Leaking. I had a leaking border collie. I'll just use something like this. You know, these are decent. These are monster cables, and got some bananas on them. I'll just use these things right here. That'll be just fine. All right, so I'm just babbling on way too much. I'll get some of this dust cleaned off too. I don't know how I'm gonna do that. I don't want to damage anything. I'll use a little vacuum. I got a tiny vac down there. Probably do that. All right, well, I'm gonna go hook them up. Ciao. All right. Well, something interesting happened. Nothing can be easy. It's always got to be a complication. Not always, but seemingly. So I hooked them up. The reason I have them upside down is I wanted to keep the tweeters as close to ear level as possible when I'm sitting. And I'm using bananas. And you'll notice that the Yamaha, I've got the treble turned all the way down and the bass turned all the way up for a reason. So, just walking around here, drinking a cup of coffee. It's too early for wine right now. So when I put them on, the tweeters sounded amazing. The woofers sounded just fine, except for a buzz in both speakers, and I'm gonna demonstrate that in a minute. So in order to demonstrate the buzz, I've got the treble turned down and the bass turned up, because the buzz is a mechanical buzz coming from the speakers. Coming from the woofers. And at first, it sounded like the buzz of a blown voice coil or a partially blown voice coil, or some debris in the magnetic gap of the voice coil, that sort of thing. And I immediately thought, okay, I've been had. But I was thinking, well, wait a minute, they measured perfectly and they were perfectly the same, 4 ohms, and they felt good, and it can't be. So I'm glad I didn't reach that conclusion right off the bat. So I kind of went over there, and the buzz sounded like, it sounded internal to me. So I'm thinking, well, maybe and it was only with certain deep bass notes. So I'm thinking maybe the crossover networks inside of some component is loosened up and is buzzing with the bass or something else. Well, that something else turned out to be the surrounds. And I'm going to have to pull the speaker cone out, but I don't know if you can see, but there's these surrounds right here, you can see it better right here, are coming off. There, I can see it. See that? And the butyl rubber, the rubber portion is attached firmly, and the rubber portion is not a problem. It's attached to some kind of ring that feels like it's made out of plastic or something to that effect. Some kind of hard material. I think it's plastic of some kind, and it's that plastic material that is pulled away from the metal basket. Hear it? You can see it too. So I'm gonna so I'm thinking, the sound that I heard I really liked. I'm thinking it's worth putting the time into getting these things fixed. But let me demonstrate the sound, and then I'll show you when I push on the plastic. Let's see. I'm going to put on a song with a bass note. This is old school new wave stuff, but a song with a bass note that makes it buzz. Hope YouTube doesn't ban this song. Okay, here we go. Okay, you hear that? Watch this. You hear the other one buzzing, but not this one. Listen. I'm gonna push on it.
The stars on the battlefield shiver in tears. A dead bright lesson from a million light years. The game is up. It's cold tonight.
Nothing.
So we crouching out on the doors, waiting for a dawn.
So,
Oh, hungry and simple and
there you go,
calm and
bastard.
warm. 60 second interval.
Hold it down. Nothing.
Here it comes.
Sound great.
60 seconds in.
Okay. So now, turn that off. Ah, boy. I was hoping to get a good listening in, but those are unlistenable right now. So it's a mechanical problem with the surround. To me, it can be easily fixed with some epoxy. Now, whether I can lay that epoxy in there and look good, that's another story, but I'm not sure I care about looking good. I would like the epoxy to be blackish, though, so you can't see it. So that's what I'm going to have to do, is I'm going to pull that woofer out, take a look at the back of it, take a look. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. I'm going to rebuild it, not rebuild it, but I'm going to pull it out, look at everything. I'm going to get in there and see if any components of the crossover have loosened up. Normally those components are kind of glued together to make sure they don't vibrate and rattle with bass. But in between the buzzing, I really like the sound. I really do, and it's worth putting the time into it, to me, to get these. I really can't wait to hear them. The bass was amazingly deep. Had a good full bass note to it, from what I can tell, in between buzzing. And the tweeter sounded great. I was shocked at how good, and you couldn't get a sense because I had the treble turned down and the bass up because I wanted to accentuate that buzz. But I'll wait to do a review of these things, or listening impressions, till after I get them fixed, because I can't tell anything right now. But I'm going to put some work into them and try to get them, try to get that buzz eradicated, maybe some epoxy. I'm going to surf around for materials. I would guess epoxy's the way to go. Try to squeeze it in the gap and then put a little along the edges like a gusset. And I'm just thinking out loud. But, well, sorry for the conclusion of this particular, I'll just call this part one because I'm going to revisit these speakers, but I like them. Damn, I like the looks of them too. They're really cool. Too bad. But that's just one of those things. That's just one of those things that happen with age, you know. I mean, mechanical components that are fixed by adhesives do tend to loosen up. You know, you look at these adhesives, and I know I'm comparing apples to oranges, but do you realize that the major components of wing sections of commercial aircraft are glued together? I shit you not. They're using structural adhesives to glue together. Well, hell, for that matter, wings are many wing sections and ailerons, and not ailerons, but tail sections are made of friggin' plastic nowadays. Yeah, I know. It's not really plastic. It's resin. Epoxy, is it? What's it called? Carbon fiber composites. Yeah, it's plastic. Jeez. Really good plastic. Although a tail section of a how do I get on these tangents? If you remember, shortly after 9/11, there was a aircraft leaving LaGuardia, maybe in New York, but it was flying over Rockaway Beach, and the tail section broke apart. People thought it was terrorism because it was so close to 9/11, but no, the damn tail fin broke apart. It's a composite, carbon fiber. What was I saying? How did I even start? Oh, adhesives. Yeah, so adhesives are one of those things that tend to deteriorate with age, and as you can see, damn sure did. Came right apart. And so I'm going to try to fix it. We shall see. But I'm looking forward to the challenge, I think. I've never had to fix this. I've never had to fix a surround on a speaker cone before. It's the first time for everything. It's kind of looking forward to something different. But anyway, those are my ADS. I hope to be back once I get them working with listening impressions and Again, for what I bought them for, I don't really care. I mean, you know, it's not like I lost any money. But if anyone has any spec sheets or brochures or knows where I can find one on this model, what was it again? I forget. LS270/2, I think. Whatever I said the first time. Hell, it'll probably be in the title of the video. Okay, well, I'm just rambling on. I've got nothing else to do today. My guests are coming over soon. I'm going to wrap it up. Enough of this, and I'll be back with part 2 on this one. And also, I'm going to make a very brief part whatever, now I'll call it an update on the Yamaha and the Klipsch. And the update I'm going to make is more for owners of these things, those who've purchased them or who currently have them. And I know a couple of people in my comments section, and I'm honored to know this, that actually purchased one or the other or both of these on my opinion. One person said that he or she purchased the Yamaha and the NT, the TIAC DAC. I don't think you can go wrong. I hope that person is thrilled with it, but I'm going to make an update for owners because there's a couple little things I want to say that you should know about, and positive things about the Yamaha. One little glitch that happened that you could easily fix that I want to talk about that may happen to someone else. And on the Klipsch, I want to talk about the grill covers. There's something you need to know. I will call it almost critical about the grill covers, and I'm going to not reveal it now, but in that update video. But anyway, thanks for watching, and as always, ciao.